Thank you.
And we're joined by Dr. Maxine Madison. We're recording this for all of our STEM students here in Madison County Schools. So our friends at Shirley Simmons Middle School, Germantown High School, Old Town Middle School, and Madison Middle School. And I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. And we've looked at your website. You're quite the history maker. I'll let you tell your background, and then some of the patents you've had. We looked at those, and I got to admit they went right over my head.
Yes, yeah.
Very complicated. So I'll let you explain some of that as well, and then we have some questions that we have from the kids that we'd love to hear some answers to. So I'll let you tell us about your background and how you got to what you're doing and what all it is you do out there in Houston.
Okay, great. Happy to join y'all today. My background is chemical engineering. So I'm actually from Roxie, small town in Mississippi. I went to Mississippi State for my undergraduate, got my bachelor's of science in chemical engineering. Then I got my PhD in chemical engineering from Texas A&M. So that's when I came to Texas, and I did research on biofuels while I was working on my dissertation. And so that's kind of how I got interested into the more green side of things, because throughout my career, my roles have mainly focused on environmental engineering. So that's kind of what drew me to ConocoPhillips, was the fact that at the time they were starting a biofuels research facility. Well, they were starting biofuels research in their Ponca City, Oklahoma facility. So I started working for them in Ponca City, Oklahoma, doing biofuels research. So we did that for about 2.5 years. And then I came to Houston and started changing roles within the company. Yeah.
And you are humble because you are also the first Black woman to ever receive a PhD in chemical engineering.
Yes.
Which is a huge honor in itself.
Yes. Thank you. That is correct. Yeah, the first Black female to receive a PhD in chemical engineering from Texas A&M, which is, kind of surprising. That was 2007. So not too long ago, but yes, that's correct.
Now, we actually had another chemical engineer from Houston a few months ago, and he talked about the importance of that role has, because almost everything we have and everything we use at some point is touched by a chemical engineer, whether it be on the manufacturing side or the discovery side, which I know is kind of what you do. So why are these careers so important to not just the economy of the United States, but people's everyday lives?
Yes, I mean, the thing I love about chemical engineering is that it is so versatile, that you can get a chemical engineering degree, you can work in the food industry, you can work in the chemical industry, you can work like I do in oil and gas. Some people even go on and get medical degrees and end up as doctors. And so yeah, the chemical engineering degree is very, very versatile. But for me in oil and gas, of course, we work on delivering energy for the world. And so, you want to cook your food on the stove, you need gas for that. And so we supply gas. If you want to drive somewhere, you need some gasoline. And so we drill for oil, which is eventually turned into gasoline. So yeah, chemical engineering is very important. Yes.
Now, you also have 9 total patents of things that you've been an inventor on. So again, we looked at some of the diagrams, and it is extremely confusing to the layperson. So can you kind of explain the things y'all discovered and invented to come up with these patents?
Yes. So one of the patents, I guess, that's most dear to me is one of the ones that I worked on in graduate school. So that one was a biomass pretreatment process where we were looking at sugarcane bagasse. So from sugarcane, the leftovers is called bagasse after they harvest the sugarcane. And so we were able to do pretreatment on that. Actually, we were using shotgun shells to kind of explode the biomass, so to speak. We had a chamber and we put in a shotgun shell, kind of exploded the biomass and broke it down so that it would then be digestible by bugs, by these microorganisms who could then, their byproduct was mixed alcohol. So alcohol that could be then turned into a fuel that you could then use in a vehicle. And so that one was really, really interesting to me, just because it was, not traditional in the sense, but,
not at all.
It was an interesting way to try to treat biomass to make it more digestible. So.
Now, when you come up with, all this research and all these uses of energy, are you focusing more on the use of the energy to be efficient, or are you focusing more on how it is transported to where it needs to be used?
So you're saying in my work now, or just kind of the company as a whole?
Yeah, as far as what you do.
So what I'm doing, or what I have been doing in the past, was looking at alternative energy. So that was, trying to create an end product that would be used to power a vehicle. And so that's what my research focused on in biofuels. I was doing biomass pretreatments that would then kind of help the process be more efficient, kind of maximize fuel production from that, because that's one of the key things with engineers, is that we try to perfect processes and make them as efficient as possible. We try to reduce the cost as much as possible to just maximize the benefits. So
I mean, that's just, especially now, the importance of that career and that industry is just cannot be measured on how it really affects the economy of the entire world. Now, you were also featured on PBS. Talking about the importance of young people to get into STEM careers. So can you talk a little bit about how that went and why you chose to take part in that?
Yes, that was really fun for me. I was actually honored to be one of the people chosen from the company to speak about this and to be featured in those PBS commercials. And so during the commercial, I was able to talk about my role now, which is aimed at reducing emissions. And basically, my role was helping to calculate the greenhouse gas emissions for the company as a whole. So I was looking at our Texas operations and Oklahoma operations. And so I would get the data from our guys in the field and, roll it up, QA, QC, and make sure the data was good, and then report that to the EPA, to the Environmental Protection Agency. And so with the videos I was doing, I was able to target audience was 7 to 9 year olds, on getting them involved in math and science education early, but mainly focus on math, and just trying to let children know that, you don't have to be afraid of math. Math can be fun. I know it can be challenging, but once you can conquer math, so to speak, then you can, many doors open for you, and the rewards are endless. So that's what the videos talked about.
That's all. I mean, and it's great to at least plant that seed with young people. Now, we've had several guests throughout the year, and variety of engineers of all different disciplines. But one thing that they've all said in common, and I cannot stress this enough to our kids, because our kids now, they're very intelligent, but they want to get finished immediately. And if it's not right the first time, they want to quit. So in engineering, whether it's plastics, chemicals, mechanical, industrial, manufacturing, whatever, how often is it actually right the first time?
Never, I would say. There's never right. Like even in college, working on problems and, trying to come up with solutions. I mean, it took a team of people. A lot of the homework was assigned in teams, just because we know that no one has all the answers right the first time. And so you kind of glean from other people to make your project stronger. And so that's the way it is in industry as well. We try something and doesn't work, we try it again. Even with my patent on the shotgun shells, of course, the first time I did it, it wasn't as impactful. And so I had to go back and tweak the process, change temperatures, change pressures, just run it again and again until I found like the optimum conditions for it in order to get the effect I was looking for. Yeah,
and you talk about and that made me think about this with the and you talk about the pressure and the temperatures. I know our chemistry teacher would be proud to ask, because these kids want to laugh about all the time about how why do I have to follow lab rules? Why do I need to be safe in a chemistry lab? So how important is it really to be as safe as possible in a chemistry lab? Because and we laugh about it, but it can actually be very, very dangerous if you're not following proper safety protocol.
Oh, yes, very, very much so. And I will just share a story myself. Just when I was in the graduate lab, There's a specific order for when you're mixing acids and bases. And so during this one day, I switched that order and I felt the flask. I had the flask in my hand. I felt it getting warm and it started to like bubble over. I put it into the sink and thankfully it was a small enough amount of acid that the runaway reaction didn't, cause a big explosion. But if it had been a larger amount of the chemical in there, then, it could have been really bad. So no, those rules are there for a reason. And of course, safety at ConocoPhillips, in any lab is very, very important and something that we always stress because yes, accidents do happen, but we want to put in safeguards and follow those rules and procedures to limit those, conditions that might create an incident.
Yeah, you're the second person that said that with a similar story. She also said she did the wrong order of additions to the solution, and it said a fire came out and almost burned her hand.
Oh wow!
So I mean, it is extremely important to follow that. Now, before we get to the kids,
I definitely had on my goggles and my safety gloves and my lab coat, and so like if I hadn't worn that equipment, it could have been worse. And so that's another thing is that you want to always make sure that you're wearing the equipment the right way, goggles tight to your face, and just all of those things is really important.
Now, and I just got a couple more before I get to some of the students' questions, but I did want to ask about what is some of the new technology that you guys use, because even though you're dealing with the chemicals and the natural resources and things, you also have to be up on the new technology that brings those things up and analyzes them. So what is some of the new technology that you've seen that you've been working with?
I guess for us, just in the mission space, some of our new technologies are around digital tracking of equipment and things like that, so that we can, in the missions world, have an accurate count of the pieces of equipment and everything that should be included in our calculation. So for us, a lot of the digital technology is important. But then I know there's, just for increase in well production, there are a lot of different technologies looking at there. Of course, another area we're starting to look at within ConocoPhillips that I'm not as versed in, but looking at hydrogen and also carbon capture and sequestration processes. So those I think are some of the two that if someone was looking for a job choice now, that would kind of be the area that's going to be pretty big in 10, 20 years.
Absolutely. And it's going to keep changing. So it's important to stay well versed. Snapchat and TikTok and everything are fun, but you need to be well versed on all the other technology as well. Now, we would be remiss if we did not ask about your college experience and you being a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, because I have a lot of 9th and 10th, 11th graders here, and some of them have the interest in going to college and being a part of the MPHC organizations. And all the stepping and strutting and stuff is all fun, and and I've been to step shows in my day, and they're a lot of fun to do, and it is a great representation of the organization. But there's so much more to it. So much more to it than that, because I'm not trying to date you, but when you get our age, I know I've never left at the same age. It's a lot harder to step and strut as your body.
Right. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about these MPHC organizations and how and how the kids can benefit from it if they choose to be a part of one?
Yes, yeah. So I really love my sorority, and the thing that drew me to AKA was the focus on community service. So it wasn't really the parties and the stepping and all of that, although that was great too. But I really liked being able to get back to the community. We had programs focused on literacy and things like that. And so that is what drew me to the organization initially. And then just the sisterhood that's created from the organization really kind of helps me going forward, and staying connected to my line sisters, and just having this kind of wealth of people that I know and I can be connected to because we're in the same sorority. So even if I were to meet someone on the street today that I didn't know, but they had on an AKA shirt, I could go up to them and say, "Hey, I'm a sorority sister in AKA, what do you do?" Like, we would have that connection. And so it can open doors for you in that sense too, of being connected in the sorority can help you in the future to be connected to other sorority sisters that are doing amazing things. We have someone in the White House now who is who is my sorority sister. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, and then also, if they don't, if you didn't want to join an MPHC organization in college, the graduate chapters also there's they all have large chapters here in Jackson. I know they do in Houston as well. So there is that opportunity for that networking after you graduate. So it's not something you would have to do while you're in college if you wanted to focus on studies. And then also I wanted to talk a little bit about Roxie. I've actually been to Roxie.
Okay.
That big.
Right, exactly.
Very, very small town, very rural.
Mhm.
In one of the poorest areas of the country. Honestly, Jefferson County, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the poorest county in the United States. And almost predominantly Black county, very rural. But then you chose to change your environment and go to Mississippi State. So we're a very rural community now. Obviously, we're not anywhere near the poverty level that is present in Jefferson County, and I hope our kids appreciate that because they're not.
Well, I'm from Franklin County, but yeah, just that general area, like Wilkinson County, also close by a very impoverished area as well. I think Wilkinson County is actually one of the cities that has the lowest.
That area of Franklin, Jefferson,
all that
very impoverished area, but yet you chose to change your whole environment and go to Mississippi State. So if we have kids interested in going to Mississippi State, would be a good reason to do that.
So I was drawn to go to Mississippi State just because I knew they had a good engineering program. So growing up, I didn't know any other engineers. I didn't know what engineers were. I liked chemistry though, and so my chemistry professor, I really enjoyed his class, and so I asked him one day after class, what could I major in college? And so he said, well, maybe chemical engineering. And I didn't know what it was. Date myself because there was no internet back then. And so I had to go to the library, open up a book and read, what does chemical engineering do? And so it was something that, I read that they help people and help improve processes. And I've always been a person that likes to help. And so I was drawn to that. And I found out that Mississippi State had the best engineering program in the state. And so that's one of the things that drew me to Mississippi State. And then it was just kind of real laid back environment, also high diversity levels at Mississippi State. And so I just really, I loved it while I was there. The classes were challenging, but I felt like I always had the resources that I needed in order to succeed. And so yeah, I'm glad that I'm part of the MSU, the Bulled Out family.
Yeah. And it's I've never heard a person that went through engineering there give any bad reports. So that's
right.
That's able to do that and then literally put people across the country. But I do have some questions from the students. And some of these are really interesting. But this is Brian Mercury. He's in 11th grade, and he asked, "What is the coolest alternative to oil you have found as an energy source?"
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see. What has been the coolest alternative? I'm trying to think of, there are still some things in the works. So I guess the ones that always interest me the most are the garbage to fuel. So there are lots of lots of people that look at taking garbage, like actual, compost and waste, and actually fermenting that and producing fuels from that. And so yeah, those are really interesting because I'm thinking if we can do that on a large scale, then that can solve two problems of, reducing waste and producing fuel. So yeah.
That's almost like recycling without even trying.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Now this is Alonzo Johnson. He's in 9th grade, and he asked, other than the patent that you said you were proud of, what would you consider your biggest achievement in your career?
That's a good question. Biggest achievement. I don't know. I think my position I have now, I'm really excited about it. So now I'm a climate risk advisor for the company. So I've been with ConocoPhillips for 15 years, and I've, worked in different roles, but now I'm actually in a role that can help set the long-term trajectory of the company. So help the company reach our long-term targets to become a net zero emissions company by 2050, and to reduce our emissions, by about, I think it's about 40% by 2030. And so to help us meet all of these targets. And so I'm really, proud that I can can help guide the company in that, and also trying to watch to see what's on the horizon as far as new rules and regulations coming out in regards to emissions. So that's something I'm proud of.
That's awesome. Now this is J. Ashton Williams, and he's in ninth grade, and he asked, what was the inspiration behind your patents?
Good question. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about the ones that I did while I was in the heavy oil technology group. So those were challenging because heavy oil technology is not something that I studied. So this was like a challenge to me to try something different. But I was able to get a lot of patents in the heavy oil technology group. That was just because we kind of had a mandate on, we need to be innovative. We need to create new ideas. And so I was able to take two different ideas from different parts of the heavy oil technology and combine them together to make a new patent. And so I appreciated being able to do that. As far as the inspiration for the biomass patent, that was more related to my research and just my interest in trying to create green alternatives and I guess processes that would help.
During that whole process, I doubt that's something you got right the first time.
Right, exactly. No, it wasn't. Yeah.
Now this is Kamiria Smith. She's in ninth grade, and she asked, when you were young, were you interested in the engineering, or did you get more interested in that when you were older?
It's a good question. So I think it was more so when I was older. So I don't know. I've always had an interest in science. Science was something that always interested me. I remember, fifth grade doing a science fair where I was comparing the growth of plants, based on whether they had sunlight or if you grew the plant in a closet or something. And so I guess I've always liked kind of that scientific method and testing ideas. Will this work? Will my hypothesis be correct? Yeah, I guess I kind of have always been drawn to the science part of it. The math and engineering piece came a little bit later as I got involved in chemistry, like I said, in high school, and then taking engineering classes in college. So
that's awesome. This is Trevor Blackman. He's in ninth grade, and he asked, why is your career so important in the oil and gas industry?
Yeah, good one. So I think my career is very, very important because the oil and gas industry has a very challenging task of kind of, staying relevant in a sense, being able to survive as we move towards an economy and a world where we all have to live on, reduce opportunities and reduce resources is the word I'm looking for. So I think my role now in trying to help the company come up with new technologies that are more efficient, more environmentally friendly. I think that's really a challenge, and also a place where the industry has to make some changes. And so I'm really glad to be a part of that change, because it's something that's going to be critical for the industry, because we will still need some oil and gas. It's like the renewables right now won't solve the whole problem. And so we still will need oil and gas. And so we still will need companies that are optimizing their oil and gas production while reducing emissions.
Yeah, and I know we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for coming. But when you speak of that, how important is it for these young people to look into this field, because it's not going to go away. This is going to be an in-demand job and career for a long time. So
exactly.
So why should these young people look into getting into this area of work?
Oh gosh, I mean, it's critical to everything we do. If we want to travel anywhere, we need some type of fuel to do that, whether we're traveling by plane or train or car, whatever. And so we're still going to need fuel in the future. And so I think being a part of the oil and gas industry is a great place to have a very long career, because it's always something that the world is going to need. So
yeah, and not just on the residential, but the commercial and the, just so much stuff it depends on. Now, also, we had to briefly talk about this. You're also an author. So why don't you tell us briefly about your book that you wrote on this, available on your website as well?
Yeah, thank you. So in 2020, I published my first book. It's called Miracles in the Making, Making the Miracles of Jesus Your Own. And so I was really happy to publish this book. I felt like God had given me the idea for this book over 10, 15 years ago now. And it was something that I started working on around 2009. So talking about things not coming quickly. I started working on it back then around 2009, and I would work on it a little bit, put it to the side, different things happened, kids came, got married, all of that. And so work, started to increase too. But in 2020, when the pandemic happened and, it looks like there was a real possibility that, I may not live to see 2021. Like we didn't know what was going on. And so I didn't want to die with that book inside of me. And so I put forth every effort and worked, every weekend on the book. I got up early before I went to work and would work on the book for a couple of hours just to make sure that I was able to get it published and that it looks presentable in a good format in order to put it out. So yeah, I published it. It's available on Amazon.com. And so it's something I'm really proud of. I think it will bless everyone who gets a copy of it.
Yeah, and it is available in digital and in paperback. So, no matter what you prefer, it is available on your website, MaxineMadison.com. Now, before we go, one last question for you. You're from rural Mississippi. I mean, and Roxie is the ruralest of the rural.
I know, yeah.
And you grew up as a young rural Black girl in Mississippi, and you become extremely successful, and it's amazing how humble you are, because you really held back on all you've accomplished, and it's amazing to see, and it's just I'm in awe of your intelligence. But everybody that's in here with me now is also a young Black kid in Mississippi, and a lot of the ones that I watch later are. But at the end of the day, they're all Mississippi kids, and they may be frustrated thinking they can't accomplish things, but you're living proof that it can happen. So
that's true. With God, anything is possible. And
so what can they do? Even if they don't want to get into engineering, they're all young kids, a lot of young Black kids in Mississippi, and they're going to have obstacles. So what can they do to overcome those obstacles to be as successful as someone like you?
I would just say persistence, kind of like Katanji, persevere, just keep pressing, keep pushing. I mean, I had lots of setbacks in my career. And so we see the high points, but even like I was saying with the book, it was something that I had inside of me for 10 years. And for those 10 years, it wasn't, nothing was really happening with it where it was a finished product. And so I had to keep pushing, I had to keep pressing forward and, talking to other people that could inspire me as well to keep going. So I think it's really good to have people in your circle, people in your group that can push you. I like the saying that you shouldn't always be the smartest person in the room. It's like, you need to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, that know more than you, so that they can keep pushing you to let you know, like, hey, there's something else out there. You think this is all there is, but there's a whole world out there that we haven't seen. And I think that was something too that I was able to travel internationally, and that also helped to open up my eyes to all of the possibilities. And so I would encourage people to get passports, go travel at least to another side of the country if you don't leave the country. But yeah, just know that there's more to life than what's right in front of you.
Absolutely. And again, Dr. Maxine Madison, thank you so much for joining us from Houston today. I know you're extremely busy, so thank you for fitting this in the schedule today. Really appreciate it. And I'm just, like I said, thanks for dumbing it down for us, because you are one of the most intelligent people I've ever even heard about. So
God bless you. Yeah. No, this is an honor to be here today. I love giving back because, like I said, I know where I came from. I was one of those little girls who, didn't really know what I wanted to be and all of that. So yeah, anytime I can pour into a young person and just say, keep pushing, you can do it. You're here for a reason. And I feel like that with my job now, with, being in this climate risk role, that all my previous experiences have led me to this. And so I think that's what happens in all of our lives, as we're walking along, God has ordered our steps. And so yeah, I would just encourage people that no matter what you're going through right now, there's a place later where you could use that experience. And so just to keep persevering.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and I will talk to you soon, my friend.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.